Hi everyone, this is audap. Let's continue our game of Napoleon Maiden, Episode 1, A Maiden Without the Word, or Without the Word Impossible, running on Nintendo Switch. Napoleon has slightly given up on her shoulders. I reached for Napoleon as if I were touching my cat. Then I took Napoleon's hand, which was on the negligee skirt. Napoleon squeezed her body. It is transmitted through her connected hands. I lowered my eyebrows and smiled bitterly. I stared at Napoleon's fingertips. I wonder how much this beautiful and thin finger holds, and how much have they missed? Napoleon clenched her lips tightly. Napoleon's expression is distorted. Anna said there are enemies inside and outside. In fact, when it came to this world, the citizens were in riot. The people Napoleon is trying to protect, it wouldn't be strange if someone attempted to assassinate. Even if the culprit in this case is not, someone else in the nation may eventually try to harm Napoleon. I thought it would be the saddest thing for her. Words disappeared from Napoleon. Instead, large tears spilled from the jewel-like eyes. The transparent drops ironically shine beautifully in the cold moonlight. Napoleon alternately wipes the tears spilling from one to the next with the backs of her hands, spitting out stubborn words. It was as if the child had lost his way and was crying. With a very natural movement, I hugged Napoleon's body. I try not to miss Napoleon's slight fluttering in my arms. Eventually, she stopped resisting, so I combed her hair. After a confusing pause, Napoleon shook her body. And she pressed her face against my chest, silently, and kept still. What the hell am I in a dungeon? What is this? That was a week later. The assassination was arrested by the military. There was heavy air in the room. A small room surrounded by stone walls. Only a simple desk and 2 chairs are placed in the center. Only a small light window at the top of the wall illuminates the room. It is also fitted with iron bars. Oh, okay. What is it? It is a cell. Marat, sitting in a chair, tells Napoleon and I, who are behind her, Marat was an interrogator. Napoleon stands with her arms crossed and her chest stretched. Really, that night was like a phantom, and there was a resolute figure of Napoleon. As for me, I'm standing next to Napoleon. For some reason, I'm here. Perhaps because I was about to be assassinated. I was also present at the cross-examination. Oh, okay. Assassin? I just hoped it wasn't a French citizen. The iron door is knocked.
Bonaparte-sama, Joshua-sama, かの者を連れてまいりました。
よし、
With Marat's reply, a soldier opens the door. The person who was brought in by being sandwiched between two soldiers. It was a girl of the same age as me and Napoleon, with a dignified face, unusual eyes with different colors on the left and right. If she's in my class, she's definitely a pretty girl to be popular. The girl is roughly seated in her chair. Maybe she's for escape prevention, tied to her handcuffs and collar. The chains in the hands of the soldiers rang. Marat asked in a firm tone. The girl is staring at her desk with a sloppy look, and she refuses to say a word. Marat sighed and turned over the material she had at hand. Austria. When I heard that, I was a little relieved. That's good. She's not French. A girl named Christine never opens her mouth. One of the soldiers, angry at her silence, raised his hand. It was Napoleon who controlled the violence. The soldier drops a fist that was nowhere to go. Marat continued, crossing her fingers with her desk arm. Decapitation. That is the guillotine. Louis the 16th, and Marie Antoinette. Is that right? Is that the right Louise? Yeah, I think it is. And Marie Antoinette also ended their lives with a decapitation stand. The death penalty of this era is the guillotine. Napoleon frowns at her words. Christine, on the other hand, glanced at Napoleon. It was a low voice for a girl around the age, her hatred for Napoleon like a condensed one. I immediately saw Napoleon. Finally, will Napoleon become the emperor? Napoleon answers Christine's question without hesitation. Christine shows her facial expression for the first time. It was unmistakable anger. Marat asked calmly. Christine won't open her mouth anymore. I mean, she even gets a separate portrait. She's just going to be like one minor character. Marat sighs and looks back at Napoleon over her shoulder. Napoleon nodded slowly after making a ponderous look. The soldiers leave the room with Christine. I was forever seeing off Christine's back disappearing behind the door. That night, having helped Napoleon's work as usual, I was walking down the hallway to return to my room. What comes to mind is Christine. I don't know why, but I'm very worried about that child. No, it doesn't mean anything strange. She was certainly that cute. But the opponent is the criminal who attempted to assassinate Napoleon, so that's not the case. I think military personnel, Napoleon, and Marat haven't heard of it. I couldn't help thinking so, and my feet naturally turned to the stairs to the basement. I was walking in the dungeon, following the guidance of a guard who seemed a little annoying. Not many sinners were kept at military headquarters, and the dungeon was quiet. The cold, stagnant air in the basement cools the body. While shivering at the eerie, I eventually reached the target prison. There was Christine. about to say she actually has a character portrait, so she must be more significant than, hey, I'm here and then I'm gonna die. Yeah. She sits on a hard stone floor, staring at me as a sudden visitor.
少しだけですからね。
With that said, the guard returned to his post. Being alone, I crouched down on the spot, trying to make eye contact. Christine and I stared at each other across the bar.
何かよ。
The confused look is as usual. I smiled awkwardly to dispel Christine's alertness.
俺は崎川翔一。君はクリスティーンだったよな。
崎川翔一。変わったなね。
まあな。みんなからは翔一って呼ばれてる。
そう。
Christine muttered casually, showing no interest. Well, maybe it's still good I get a reply. I regained my mind and continued talking.
やっぱり君が暗殺の犯人なのか。
そうよ。何度も言っているでしょ。私は私の意志でナポレオンを殺そうとした。
祖国を侵略されたから。
Christine was staring at me as if she was valuing me. However, she suddenly loosened her expression.
あなた、ちょっと変わってるわね。本当に軍人なの？
いや、俺は軍人じゃないんだ。ちょっと訳あってナポレオンに保護されてる。
そうなの。道理で軍人特有の傲慢さがないわけね。
Christine turned herself to me.
私は余命者よ。元は音楽家だったの。
余命者？しかも音楽家？
ええ。だから私には自分の運命が分かっていた。音楽家ではいられなくなるという決定的な未来が。
Even though she is a musician, depositor, she can't be a musician? What is the fate of that? But before asking that, Christine went on to talk.
それでも私は音楽を続けた。それが天命だったから。これでも元はナポレオン信奉者だったのよ。
え、そうなのか？
ええ。ナポレオンを称える楽曲も作った。彼女こそは王という独裁を打倒し、民のために戦ってくれていると信じて。
But Christine shakes her head.
けれど結局はナポレオンも一緒だったわ。権力を振りかざし皇帝という独裁者となる。これじゃ王政と何も変わらない。
だから君は。
ええ。未来のない音楽家を辞め軍に入った。そして軍を辞めてナポレオンの暗殺を企てた。それだけ。
けど余命者は天命を全うするものじゃないのか？
私のように天命に逆らう者は少なからずいるが、そして大抵は命を落とす。こうしてね。
I lost my word voluntarily. Oh, wait, I lost my word. Wait. I lost my word involuntarily. Oops, sorry about that. Those who oppose the heavenly life will die. For example, if Napoleon does not take the throne of the emperor, does that mean she also loses her life? Damn, that's what God does. I heard footsteps from the back of the prison. The guard may have come to call me, who is having a hard time returning. There is little time left.
ナポレオンから目を離さないことね。皇帝となればあいつは独裁者。ましてや世界中で戦争を起こしてる暴君よ。
そんなことはない。彼女は。
どうかしらね。
At the same time as Christine ironically muttered, the guard appeared with the light of the candlestick. I had no choice but to turn my back on Christine. She was standing still and she was staring at the cold floor. Christine was sentenced to death at the trial. The death penalty is approaching tomorrow. Napoleon was still busy with work. I, who helped her, had some busy days. I think that might be better these days. The assassination, Christine, Nelson, the future of Napoleon and France. And I wonder if I could return to the original world. I don't have to think about such extra things.
正一、何ぼさっとしてるの？この書類をミュラのところまで持って行って。
はいはい。
Receive a stack of paper presented by Napoleon. A modest knock echoed in the room.
はい。
Respond on behalf of busy Napoleon. What come back was a familiar voice.
アンナなのです。お客様を連れてきたのです。
お客様？ああ、どうぞ入ってくれ。
Behind the open door, Anna's petite body. And behind that stood an unfamiliar girl. She is also a girl the same age as me and Napoleon. She has pretty bob hair and big eyes. Her expression is tight and she is never scared when she sees Napoleon in front of her.
あら、あなたは。
The girl who came out with Anna reverently gives a bow.
お初にお目にかかります、当主。私はサンソン家の4代目当主、シャルル・アンリ・サンソンと申します。陛下はやめて、まだ皇帝になっていないわ。
Napoleon stood up with a bitter smile. Charles Henri Sanson. I was familiar with the name. That is?
そなたがギロチンを開発したものなのね。ええ。
Sanson looked down slightly. Her eyes are clearly melancholy. Yes, Sanson is the executioner, Mouche de Paris. Sanson, who is also a good doctor, has developed a decapitation stand, the so-called guillotine, so as not to cause pain to sinners as much as possible. And it is this Sanson who has executed celebrities such as Louis XVI and Antoinette.
そなたを目の前にして言うのもなんだけれど、世はギロチンがあんまり好きではないわ。はい、聞きを読んでおります。
However, contrary to the words, Napoleon smiled.
そなたも確か死刑廃止論者だとか。ええ、それこそ私が言うのも妙ですが、死刑執行から逃れる術は死刑廃止しかないという戦慮からです。辛い役目ね。
Napoleon listened to Sanson's story, but Napoleon eventually smiled at her.
人を殺すということは本当に辛いことだと思うわ。けれど、もちろんそなたに罪はないわ。
I mean, if I'm remembering my history correctly, they eventually used the guillotine on Sanson himself for the cruel act of inventing the guillotine, which was actually less cruel than the act of putting somebody's head on a chopping block and having some big dude with an axe try to decapitate somebody, which wouldn't always work the first time.
ボナパルト様。そしてそなたがいるからこそパリは秩序を保たれる。世もこうして安心していられるのよ。
Because contrary to popular belief and in movies, it is actually quite difficult to remove the head from the body.
もったいなきお言葉です。
I mean, it's difficult on purpose. That is how the body is engineered. Sanson bowed her head deeply and then said,
御身の暗殺を図ったクリスティーンという罪人の処刑は近々行われます。万事お任せを。
Christine's name came out and I shook my body a little. Napoleon also had a bitter look on her face.
ええ、頼んだわ。
Then Sanson left Napoleon's office.
あんな女の子が死刑執行人なのか。なあ、あの子ももちろん。
ええ、そう。余命者よ。
That's what I thought. Is it the destiny of the executioner? Napoleon, Christine, Sanson, what a heavy fate they have. A small body came out of my shadow there.
ところで、ナポレオンは皇帝になるのですか？
あれ、アンナいたのか？
I thought she had left the room with Sanson, but Anna doesn't answer my question and she asked Napoleon again.
いつですか？いつ皇帝になるのですか？
Napoleon is also laughing at the aggressive posture of the question.
ええ。現政府の承認を得て国民投票をするのよ。はあは
おいおい、分かってるのかアンナ。
Anna began to look out the window. She doesn't seem to know much. I turned to Napoleon.
ついにこの時が来たんだな。
あ。ええ。
Napoleon was also staring at the streets of Paris from outside the window. Paris. Her eyes were swaying a little. A week after Sanson's visit, Christine, who attempted to assassinate Napoleon, died on a decapitation stand. Then, in a referendum held at a later date, it was decided that Napoleon would be the emperor. There were 3.57 million votes in favor and only 2,500 votes against. Since then, the season has passed in no time. October 1804. From that point on, I was still spending time at Napoleon Bonaparte, with no way to find a way back to the original world. Sit on a bench in the courtyard where the chilly autumn breeze blows through. It's a short break in the middle of Napoleon Bonaparte's chores. I heard the footsteps of stepping on the fallen leaves. When I raised my face, Anna walked up to me. She has a paper bag in her small body.
こんなところにいたのですか、正一。
アンナ。ああ、サボってたのがバレたのか。
いいえ、アンナが個人的に探していたのです。
Anna sat next to me, and she took out a sandwich with ham and bread from a paper bag.
忙しくてお昼も食べてないのではないですか。
なあ、ありがとう。
I would like to thank Anna for her kindness. The bread was a little hard, but the salty ham was delicious.
そういえばナポレオンは結婚するそうですよ。
I was surprised. Anna rubs my back, and she begins to speak in her usual flat tone, as if she were talking about the weather.
今度フランスの皇帝になるのです。結婚しなくてどうするという話のようです。
In this era, it is not so good that the highest authority is single.
要するにまだこれといった相手がいるわけじゃないんだな。
はい。でも話はいくつか出ているようです。
なんか
I finally calmed down and looked up at the sky vaguely. The autumn sky is so high that it can be seen through. After all, she is the Emperor of France. She will not be in trouble with her marriage. On the contrary, many would want to marry her. She's the same age as me, but will she get married? Is that what Napoleon Bonaparte really wants? No, it doesn't matter if you want it or not. For a guy called God, for destiny. A black shadow is created next to Napoleon Bonaparte. The shadow hugged Napoleon Bonaparte's shoulders, spilling his white teeth and laughing. When I had such a scene in my mind, the bread I had just eaten seemed to rise up to my throat with bitter stomach fluid.
正一。
ああ、すまん。そろそろナポレオンのところに帰るよ。どやされたらたまらないからな。
はい。
A stronger wind blows through. I reach out to Anna for her.
アンナも帰ろうぜ。ずっとここにいたら風邪ひくぞ。
わかりました。
Holding hands like good brothers and sisters, we left the courtyard. Anna followed me when she came, stopping in front of Napoleon Bonaparte's office. I looked back at Anna next to me.
アンナもナポレオンに用事があるのか？
はい。ナポレオンにも差し入れです。
Yeah, bread. I smelled at Anna's kindness. There.
だから要は結婚なんてしないわ。
An angry voice that shook the thick wooden door echoed from the room. Anna and I look at each other and open the door. There were Napoleon Bonaparte and Marat glaring at each other.
そんなこと言ったって仕方ないでしょ。政府や教会がそれじゃ納得しないのだから。知ったことじゃないわ。 のはフランス皇帝よ。伴侶なんか必要ない。何事にも建前というものがあるのよ。分かってちょうだい。一生分かりたくもないわ。
Apparently, the quarrel is following parallel lines. The cause was, I understood without asking again. Marat puts a bunch of documents in her hand on Napoleon's desk with a sigh. Napoleon Bonaparte sits back on her chair and refuses to look at the documents at all. Maybe it has all the information about the candidates. It's thicker than the military equipment list I've seen before. Marat stared at Napoleon Bonaparte with an unprecedentedly serious look.
あなたが結婚しないというなら皇帝になれないかもしれないわ。天命を全うできなかった余命者がどうなるかわかる？それは
It was Christine who was executed that came back to my mind in response to Marat's words. She went against her destiny and eventually lost her life. Moreover, Napoleon is proud of her destiny. She really wants to avoid the situation where she can't be an emperor.
だからって
Napoleon's expression becomes bitter.
どこの誰とも知れない男と結婚するなんて絶対に嫌よ。
ナポレオン。
When I instinctively called her name, she looked up astonishingly. And when she noticed me and Anna, she looked embarrassed and she looked down. Marat glanced at us, but she seemed to remind Napoleon.
分かってナポレオン。もうあなた一人の問題じゃないのよ。誰でもいいから決めてちょうだい。
Marat holds her temples down to help her headache. I'm sure it's a question and answer that has been repeated many times. Meanwhile, Napoleon Bonaparte, who was biting her lips, suddenly opened her eyes.
ミュラー、誰でもいいと言ったわね。ええ、伴侶さえ持ってくれるならね。なら
Napoleon Bonaparte got up from her chair and she rushed to the center of the room. And she points to me, standing near the door with her finger.
正一、
なんだ？
Napoleon Bonaparte had a red face and was silent for a while, but then took a deep breath.
お前が世の伴侶になりなさい。
Huh? Marat and I ridiculously blanked our faces. And... raised a scream that seems to echo throughout the room. Anna was the only person who was brilliantly blinking. In a hurry, our meeting was held in the office. Even though it was a meeting, it was like a tea party, half of which Anna prepared tea and sweets to calm everyone's feelings.
で、何がどうしてそうなるの？
The frowning Marat kicks off. Napoleon Bonaparte, on the other hand, looked sunny and gracefully tilted the cup of tea.
要は誰でもいいから夫にすればいいんでしょ？正一はずっと世の雑事を引き受けていたし、執務の面でも役に立つわ。そんなこと言ったって。
Marat distorted her eyebrows and looked at me. In addition, Napoleon glances at me. As for me, I couldn't swallow the situation well, and I was just watching the scene.
正一、
Anna next door pokes with her elbow. I suddenly returned to myself.
悪い。その急に言われたもんだから。
そうね。正一君の気持ちも大事だわ。
Marat grinned her mouth. On the contrary, Napoleon is full of words.
正一君、どうなの？ナポレオンと結婚する気はある？
というか、俺とかありなんですか？
I saw a bunch of marriage documents brought by Marat. I haven't looked at the contents, but I'm sure there are aristocrats and people in power. What kind of horsebone can I break into there?
そこに関しては問題ないわよ。
The answer was from Napoleon for some reason.
正一は未来を見通すことができる特殊な余命者だわ。この世界において余命者の存在は絶対。どの権力よりも階級よりも優遇されるの。
I wonder if that's the case. I don't think I'm a depositor, just because I come from the future or from a different world.
ミラさん、どうなんですか？
ナポレオンの言っていることは正しいわ。あなたなら結婚相手としてはふさわしいでしょうね。それに
Rog glared at the candidate's documents.
正直誰も彼も少し腰が引けてるのよね。相手はフランス皇帝だから無理もないけど。
そうなんですか？自分がのし上がるチャンスじゃないですか。
正一君も言うわね。けど命あってのものだねでしょ。万が一ネルソンとの戦いにでも巻き込まれたらことよ。
あ
Nelson's variant revives in my mind. If you're not a depositor with special abilities, you don't want to be involved in such a situation.
その点でも正一は安心ね。なんせ世とネルソンの間に割って入った男よ。
Well, that's right. Then Anna poked me with her elbow again. Maybe she couldn't see my attitude.
正一の気持ちはどうなんですか？
え？
ナポレオンの夫になるかどうかです。
She told me clearly that I was stiff. Similarly, Napoleon is also strenuous. Napoleon shouted to break the awkward silence.
勘違いするんじゃないわよ、正一。これは緊急処置で不可抗力なのよ。
どういうことだよ。
私は、別にお前のことなんかどうも思ってないわ。でも他の輩と結婚するのが嫌だから契約を申し出ているの。
契約？
そう、これはいわば世とお前の契約結婚よ。今まで通り世の庇護下にいたかったら何が何でも受け入れなさい。
Napoleon's forehead, which she confidently says has a large amount of sweat. Her cheeks were flushed and her eyebrows were fluttering. Seeing Napoleon look desperate like never before, I thought seriously. The not-so-distant future that I envisioned in the courtyard earlier. The future where another man stands next to Napoleon. That is the future that will eventually become a reality if I decline the contract here.
なんとか言いなさい。
Maybe she couldn't wait for the time I was thinking, Napoleon said in a faint voice. Her eyes turned red and she seemed to have tears in her eyes. I don't want her to have such a sad face. I was nodding when I noticed.
わかった。俺がナポレオンと結婚する。
Napoleon Bonaparte stood up like kicking a chair. The face turned bright red as soon as I saw it. I was strangely calm, reacting for Napoleon Bonaparte, thinking that her face looked like an apple.
ふつつかものですが、よろしく。
ええ。
Her hand holding my hand in a hurry was fiery hot. Then, in the meantime, the wedding day came. I wasn't a military personnel, but I was dressed in a fine white military uniform. Napoleon Bonaparte, on the other hand, wears her usual military uniform. Because they didn't want to redraw the sprite. The chapel is packed with military and government officials, as well as a great cardinal. Hymns, Bible readings, blessings, signing a marriage pledge, filling out a marriage book. Then the ring is exchanged. It was like being in a dream. Because I was just a high school student and I never thought I would get married in such a foreign land. However, my fluffy attitude ended there.
では誓いのキス。
When we heard the priest's words, we looked up at each other, and our eyes met. And our eyes meet. Napoleon Bonaparte makes her face bright red like her ripe fruit. Maybe a ripe fruit would have been better to say. This is... What should I do? It's not love between us, just a contract, that's it. But can I kiss her lips here? Napoleon Bonaparte's eyes are squinting, and her eyes closed quietly as if she had decided something. I can't pull back anymore. I gently put my hand on Napoleon Bonaparte's cheek. and I brought my lips to her lips. It was light and felt like a feather. Soft and comfortable. It's soft and warm. And above all, pain ran in my chest as if my heart had been squeezed tightly. The momentary contact ended in that way. Napoleon is a little angry and shy, turning her gaze away from me. I was too embarrassed to look at her, and I had my eyes swimming around her and to the left and right of her. There was no time to rest, and the coronation was to be held this time. Everyone in attendance is dressed up. Of course, as a companion to Napoleon Bonaparte, I was familiar with the coronation. David's coronation of Napoleon Bonaparte, a scene of a famous painting. Looking over the venue, there is a girl in the upper part of the venue who is sketching intently. No way, is that David in this world? I wonder if that is also a depositor. While worrying about such things, the coronation goes on. Sitting at the back of the ceremony is the Roman Emperor Pope Pius III. He is, in short, the most powerful person in Christianity. Napoleon Bonaparte will be crowned by Pope Pius III. Then it's my turn. In fact, Josephine, the wife of Napoleon Bonaparte, was crowned. Now, I am crowned as the husband of the Emperor of France. Incredible things happened in front of me as I tried to move forward. Napoleon Bonaparte picked up the crown from Pope Pius III. Napoleon Bonaparte walks up to me, blinding to the loud Pope Pius III. Oh yeah, this is exactly the scene that was drawn in that painting. As soon as I knew it, I knelt on the spot. Napoleon Bonaparte puts a crown on my head. The crown with gorgeous jewelry was heavy. After that, Napoleon Bonaparte, the Emperor of France, and I, her husband, moved to the Tuileries Palace. Unlike the military headquarters, which was a very practical place, the luxurious palace is somewhat uncomfortable. Well, if I live, I'll get used to it, and Anna and Marat here too. If I get used to it, I don't think there will be any inconvenience in my life here. I took a big sigh, as if to break the unscrupulous thoughts. Then I overlooked the large room. This is the bedroom. This is for me and Napoleon Bonaparte. Marble walls and floors with high ceilings with chandeliers. Furniture such as fireplaces, chests and dressers, and furnishings such as paintings, vases, and sculptures are all seem to be expensive. There is a large bed with a tent in the center of the room. It seems that 4 adults can lie down comfortably. I just conscious of the bed and I hurriedly looked away. Yes, we've been so busy since the wedding that we finally decided to share our bedroom today. I walk around the large bedroom in vain. No matter how much I try to distract myself, I'm a healthy boy. The delusions of this and that, honestly, it doesn't stop. The door opened and I screamed without a voice. Okay. There stood Napoleon Bonaparte in a nightie with her hair down. Napoleon Bonaparte closed the door behind her and crossed the center of the room. She passes me through and opens the glass door to terrace. The autumn night breeze slipped into the room and patted my lit cheeks. Looking back over her shoulder, I nodded to her in her scary voice. What helps is that Napoleon Bonaparte is insanely strong. Even if I'm a thug, if it's in the hands of Napoleon Bonaparte, the depositor, I'll be easily killed. In short, Napoleon Bonaparte can defend herself enough if I should be dominated by desire. I mean, I usually get hit back. You can never hurt her. That is my only reassurance. Well, it would be a lie to say that I never imagined a sweet night. But that is not possible from the beginning. After all, this is a contract. Napoleon had no choice but to choose me. That's it. Seeing me quiet, Napoleon turned away again and looked at the cityscape at night. I suddenly chased Napoleon, who had advanced to the fence of the terrace. The night sky was clear, and the stars that were about to fall were floating. Paris at night, which you can see below, is sunk in the darkness, unlike the present day. That is why the brilliance of the night sky was even more noticeable. Napoleon is closing her eyes without seeing such a wonderful sight. And finally, when she opened her eyelids, her eyes were swaying ephemeral.
要はついに皇帝になったのよね。このフランスを滑る皇帝に。
ああ、そうだな。
Napoleon squeezes the railing of the fence.
店名で分かっているのはここまで。
It was like a monologue, but it reached my ears firmly. Napoleon's voice is quivering slightly. She was dreaming and saying something similar on her carriage on her way to the opera. It must be anxiety that has been nestling in Napoleon's heart for a long time.
でも
Napoleon resolutely raises her face. Her voice is full of power.
私は決めたの。自分の運命は自分で切り開いてみせる。天命が示さない道なき道も歩んでみせるわ。
Really, it was a Napoleon-like word. I gave a better smile and stood next to her.
最初からそう言ってたよな、ナポレオンは。
It was the day I met. Napoleon boasted to me, a human who said he came from the future. You said that you would open up your own destiny.
そうよ。だから私は皇帝になった瞬間、自分でお前に体感したのよ。
ああ、まあな。
Originally, Napoleon put her crown on her head herself. But for Napoleon here, she would have decided that her coronation should only be given to the Pope, that is, to God. However, the fate of Napoleon, which was shown by mandate, is to the point of becoming an emperor. The reason why she was crowned with me with her own hands is that she will surely open up her own destiny with her own hands. It must have been a sign of that determination.
私、お前を夫にしてよかったと思うわ。
え？
Suddenly, I was muttered and I opened my eyes. Napoleon immediately shakes her head.
別に文字通りの意味じゃないわよ。夫といっても、お前と私は契約関係。本当の夫婦というわけではないんだから。
そりゃ分かってるけど。
私が言いたいのはそうじゃなくて。
Napoleon calls with a bright red face, even though I say I know.
お前が、秀一が、私の一番近くにいる人間でよかったということよ。
Isn't she saying something pretty embarrassing? She's kind of hung up on me and her face is getting red.
だって秀一は分かってくれるもの。戴冠式ですぐにひざまずいてくれたように、私の気持ちは。
ナポレオン。
An indescribable air lies between us. A cold night breeze broke into it, and we suddenly returned to ourselves.
この話は終わりよ。夜はもう寝るわ。言っとくけど、ベッドには絶対入ってこないこと。
ああ、分かってる。
Napoleon slams her heels and returns to her room. Then she sneaked into the bed. I took spare sheets and laid my body on the sofa. The fine sofa was big enough to be a bed, and I fell asleep quickly. A week after moving to the palace, it was a nice and sunny day that morning. A lively voice came to us who were having breakfast in a room in a palace.
おはよう、新婚さん。
おはようなのです、新婚さん。
It was Marat and Anna who came. To that word, Napoleon and I spouted tea.
なんなのよ、その言い草は。
あら、何か間違っていたかしら。
間違ってはないですけど。
間違いも間違いよ。大間違いよ。
Napoleon is ill-mannered and flutters her legs. Anna looks into the table, looking away from her.
おいしそうなのです。アンナ、お腹空きました。
なんだ、まだ食べてないのか？
はい。
なら一緒に食べよう。皆さんもどうですか？
あら、ありがとう。でも、 新婚さんの食卓に割り込んでもいいものかしら。いいのよ、別に。
In a word of Napoleon, the waiter brings a new breakfast. The result was a lively meal with Anna and Marat.
それでミュラー、何の用事もないわけじゃないのでしょ。もちろんあなたと正一くんの仲睦まじい姿を見に来たに決まってるじゃない。
Alright, why don't we stop it there? This is Audap. You've been watching Napoleon Maiden, Episode 1, A Maiden Without the Word Impossible, running on Nintendo Switch. There are definitely sentences in here which don't make any sense translated into English. In fact, I was just trying to figure out what the intention of the sentence was, and I just gave up after a while. I was like, okay, I just can't figure this out. But oh well, that's, it is what it is. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed watching. I will see you at the next stream.